Welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and this podcast, it exists for you. Whether you're a music lover, an educator, a choir member, each week we bring guests to the show to help explore what matters in music. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. Hello, and welcome to the Music Ed Matters podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Williams Birch, and today we are talking to Dr. Alissa Rowe, the newest faculty member over at Louisiana State University. That's right, she is LSU's Director of Choral Activities, and y'all, I'm so excited for you to get to know her. In this conversation, Dr. Rowe tells her story of getting into choir life. She talks about the bumps and the bruises and the hard things and the fun things. There's so many quotable moments, but here's the thing. Listen through to the end, because after we go through Dr. Rowe's story, we really unpack thinking outside of the box as a way to bring people and community together. Dr. Rowe shares steps and techniques and tips for how to use our programming, our repertoire selection, which is the biggest piece of the puzzle, to really build community and collaborations and caring. And she does such a great job telling these stories. I'm really honored that you are taking time to listen today, and it's such a blast to bring you people like this. So thank you to our sponsors, Kaleidoscope Adventures and Kinnison Choral Company, for making the Music Ed Matters podcast possible. A humongous shout out to all of our friends over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/musicedmatters. They get bonus episodes every month, but then also their monthly subscription helps pay for the platform. So thank you for making these conversations possible. I can't wait to see what you learn in this one with Dr. Alissa Rowe as we talk about thinking outside of the box, or as she says it, ripping the box up and throwing it away. Today on the Music Ed Matters podcast, we are talking to Dr. Alissa Rowe. Hi, Alissa.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so excited to speak with you today. How's Baton Rouge?
It's great. You know, it's really good to be home. It's 12 years after I finished my doctorate here, and it's an incredible place. It's really changed. So I'm loving it.
I can't wait to come visit. So listeners, Alissa was that third-year doctoral student when I was a freshman, sophomore-ish, somewhere in there. She was the one, with the really great soprano one voice who could really command a choir with her incredible conducting. So as a young whippersnapper, I remember vividly looking up to Alissa. So for when you got the LSU job, I was so excited.
Man, I just remember you being the ball of energy for the choir. You were the one who came in and wound us all up and got us excited about the music, and also, gave us that energy. So it was just fantastic. And you sang in my recital. And
I did sing in your recital.
It's incredible. It's incredible to see what you're doing as well.
Well, thank you. I'm excited for the listeners to get to know you. And this conversation today is going to be epic, talking about programming and how to bring humanity together through programming. But before we dive into content, we got to get your story. How did Dr. Rowe get into choir?
Oh, my gosh. So I grew up in the Reformed Church in Michigan. So I was born and raised in Michigan, and my high school choir director was also my church choir director. And he was one of those, he did it all. He could play the organ. He could conduct with his left hand. He could play with his right hand, and he could improvise all at the same time. And I, to this day, don't know how he did it, but he made us sound incredible and gave me inspiration to try everything, and so that was really when I got involved in choir, and we had handbells, we had everything. And, and then I knew I wanted to go into music. So that was it. Choir grabbed my heart.
Right away. And so you knew, you had that flashbulb right away.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be in music. And then I went to the University of Michigan, and of course my parents said, you can't just major in music. That's not, what are you going to do with that? They had no idea. So I was a double major. I was music ed and psychology.
What are you going to do with psychology?
Yeah, what am I going to do with psychology? And I really liked psychology, but it was just too much. The double major was way beyond most people's reach when you're trying to do music at the same time. And actually, my first year of music, I hated it. Yeah. All the things that you loved about it, now you had to work at it. Mm-hmm. And everybody was good at it, not just you. And, it was hard. It was hard at making that switch from hobby to this is work and career, and I'm going to have to do it day in and day out. So that was hard. And then I switched to, they had a Bachelor of Music Performance that also had certification. So it was I didn't have to do, it wasn't a music ed degree. It was certification, even though we took all the music ed courses. So, but I was able to get a performance degree as well as the certification. So that was a 5-year program.
Okay.
And when I took conducting in my junior year with Sandra Snow and Jerry Blackstone, that was it. It was just, I realized I was actually good at something. I had not, my first 2 years, 2.5 even in my voice lessons and in choir, I just never felt great at music because everybody else was so good. Our first choir concert, we did Beethoven 9, and I don't think I sang anything because it was so high. I mean, it was so high.
You?
Yes. But I was this
way.
little young whippersnapper, and I didn't know how to sing all those high F sharps over and over and over and over. So I stood on the Hill Auditorium stage, amazed at the sounds that were coming around me, but I don't think I sang anything.
Okay. This makes me feel a lot better about humanity here because, I was in the same boat. The first 2 years of undergrad, I'm like, I'm going to make the world's best real estate agent. I'm just getting this degree because I have to have one. And then I took an ed class and was like, oh, I found something I'm somewhat good at.
Yeah. Right. And you realize you're good at it the minute you step in front of people and teach them. And it just feels right. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would lead a choir, and my teacher, Jerry Blackstone, said, go get a church job. So I did. And I mean, I just loved it every Sunday, every Wednesday night. It's electric, right? When you know how to work with people and you feel good at those people skills and you're able to reach out to them and bring everybody into the circle, you leave feeling so fulfilled. And that was it. So I finished the degree and taught, but only for a year, and then decided I wanted to go back and do my master's. So that was it. It just went like wildfire.
Wow. Okay. What did you teach in that 1 year?
I was a permanent sub actually for a year in Grosse Pointe. And I taught 7th and 8th grade choir. And then I also had it was like 2 different districts where I was working. And I also taught elementary, and it was 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th general music. So I would drive and did the 2 jobs at the same time. And it was quite the challenge. It was. That sounds challenging. I learned a lot. And I think sometimes I learned more from those challenges than when things were good. You walk and you leave and you make those notes on your way home and you go, wow, that's something I don't ever want to do again. I learned from that moment, or I'm going to talk to that student differently next time, and have a different conversation, or come from a different angle, or I'm going to call that parent. Right. So you just, you're able to learn from those experiences. I think in that first year tremendously. Every day is like a huge learning curve. Right.
Yeah. My goal every day was to make it to the car before crying.
That's right. I mean, yeah.
It's real life. And it's so interesting because, we were just saying how when you step into that space, like you knew in conducting class, I knew in elementary methods that it was the shoes that fit me, that it was the career for me. But then you get out there and you're doing it. And it's not necessarily that the shoes aren't fitting. It's learning how to walk in those heels all dang day.
And it's walking in those heels when the circumstances are changing around you at the same time, right?
Quicksand.
And you're given a different set of students, or one student comes in and changes the whole group that's in the classroom. And so it's learning how to do that. And that's that's lifelong process. I don't think it ever changes. And that's, I think, why the best teachers are great learners as well, because we're constantly reflecting on how we're teaching and how we're learning, and knowing that what worked last year might not work this year, and that keeps us fresh, keeps us alive. Right. My husband teaches social studies, and I said to him, can you imagine if you rewrote your syllabus every single year? I said, I have never, ever done a concert twice. I've hardly ever repeated music. Why would I do that when there's all this music that I can do? Right. So even though we have that syllabus, we are constantly learning new things. It's never the same. which is
Right.
pretty incredible for us. Aren't we
Coolest
lucky?
job. We have
Aren't
the
we
best
lucky?
job. Yes, in all of the craziness. It is the best. Now, when you went back for your master's, did you go back for ed, performance, or conducting? Like, what did you go back for?
I did 2 master's degrees, one in vocal performance and one in conducting.
At the
So,
same time?
At the same time. Yep.
So you didn't learn from the double major of undergrad. You decided to double that master's too?
I really, I wanted to be a good singer. And it took me really until I was like 30 to get to where I wanted to get to. It just, singing, I don't know, it just is hard. I remember I finished my master's recital and I had a colleague who came up to me and said, wow, you're really singing now. And I thought, gee, thanks for the compliment. So obviously for the last 7 years, I haven't been singing, but it was this realization of that it's lifelong. And as your voice changes over time, you have to adapt and be able to work with that. And that it's not something to be shameful of, but it's something to be proud to work through and to learn from it so that then I can work with my students. I feel like since I struggled as a singer, I'm able to give really accurate feedback to students who are struggling. And when they say to me, oh, I really want to sing soprano, but you put me on alto 1 and why, I can explain to them why and what I think they're going to go through and why this would be good right now for the short term and what they're going to benefit from as they're taking their time there. And, so I think everything that's happened has happened for a reason,
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything. I remember trying to get into, freshman year, I didn't make it into a cappella choir, the audition choir. I didn't make it into Scola, the second level audition choir, because I couldn't solfege.
Yep.
And all I remember was buying every possible used cheap book to learn how to solfege. Yep. And to this day, my students know why I value solfege so much.
Yep.
Because I had to learn fast.
And it gives you the tools, singers, we don't have any buttons to push down. We don't have,
I say that all the time,
but it's difficult. And so we need some sort of system. And really the only applicable place, they take all this music theory and oral skills, but it's not applicable until they get into the ensemble and have to do it in real time. Mm-hmm. And it is a skill. You feel like you're a kindergartner again. If you haven't done it, you start from scratch and I always tell my students, wait till you're a junior. Mm-hmm. Wait till you're a junior. You're going to come in here and you're not going to cry for the first time when you sight read. Yeah. It's going to be okay. And you're going to realize how much you've learned in those 2 years. But the first 2 years feel like a turtle's pace.
It feels so bad. And it's so hard to watch, especially like middle schoolers struggling because it's already awkward kinesthetically to move your hands and to get the kinesthetic piece of it. And as a kinesthetic person, that's very helpful to me. Yep. But to see them struggling, so, each week we have a different solfege syllable. Like, here's your goal. Just get all the do's this week. That's the only thing you have to do. But I never knew that you ever were nervous about your voice or ever didn't know.
Oh my gosh. I'm still nervous about my voice. I came out with a CD last October. It's defining French arias of early 19th century New Orleans. So I researched operas that were performed in New Orleans at the turn of the century. And some of the music's just incredible. It's incredible. But I made the CD. It was a project. It ended up being a COVID project, which is really difficult, but just to get the recording done. But it gave me something to do during COVID. And I felt good about it because I could sing and I could work on all this music. And the singing it fulfilled me because I couldn't see my choirs. Right. But even now I listen to it and I go, ugh, there's so many things. Like I'm not that professional singer who has their doctorate, but I still do okay. And I have something to share with humanity, right? I can share that and people can either appreciate it or they can trash it. And that's up to them,
I love that mindset. I put it out here. You take it or leave it, but I'm proud of what I did. I did the work.
That's right.
So awesome. Okay. So you get your master's and then what happened? Your double master's, pardon.
Got the double master's. So, I was finishing my master's at Michigan and I had 2 courses left. I had to take world music history and, which has changed so much since 22 years ago. And then I also had to take, my minor was orchestral conducting and I had to take an orchestral conducting class, but I got a call, my teacher recommended me for a job in Louisiana. So they had done a search, everything had fallen through. They were looking for a conductor. So I came to Southeastern Louisiana University and I interviewed and they offered me the job, but I wasn't done with my master's. So I called the orchestral conductor, Ken Kiesler at Michigan, and said, what can I do so I can finish this summer? And he said, well, you can come and be part of my summer institute. And instead of like the rest of the applicants choose when they want to conduct, they might do 2 pieces. You have to conduct every piece. You have to.
Whoa,
and we're going to do that. And he said, you'll get more experience than you would have in the class because I have to balance you with my majors. Right. So I went and it was an unbelievable experience working with orchestral conductors, young, old, professional, just out of school, all different types of conductors. It was just an amazing experience. And then I took the world music class actually at Wayne State in Detroit. So I was able to do that and finish my degree. And we moved in late July and moved to Louisiana. And it was a 9-month job. I thought I was only going to be in Louisiana 9 months. And here I am, year 21.
Yeah. 21 years later. Well, Louisiana does have that ability to kind of like nab you. Yes. And then you're there and there's no place in the whole universe like it.
It's wonderful, but the first year was hard. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was culture shock, number one.
It's culture shock 101. Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow. And it was a 9-month position. It wasn't tenure track or anything. I didn't have my doctorate. And so we didn't even really unpack our boxes all the way. It was like, okay, we're going to be here 9 months. Let's see. How
long had you been married at that point?
We'd only been married a year.
I was going to say that was early in your all's marriage.
1 year. Yep. 1 year. But my husband was he's amazing. He's so supportive. And he just said, he called when I was at my interview. I was at a hotel standing, looking out on a concrete parking lot. And it was like 99 degrees. And I said, I don't know about this. It was May. I had sweat through like everything at my interview. It was horrible. I said, I don't know. And he said, no, I've looked everything up. We're going to live by this lake called Lake Pontchartrain. I'll do anything. If I don't get a teaching job, I'll do anything. I think we should just do this. Let's take the adventure. We can do anything. We can do anything for a year. Right. Wow. So we did it. And it was just incredible. We knew not one person when we moved here, and that actually, I think, made our marriage stronger. Because we needed to rely on each other and we found some hobbies together. We started to kayak and run because we kept eating all the food. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's part of it. I think when you move to Louisiana, you have to eat all the food and then figure out how not to gain all the weight.
So that's when we started running. Yeah. Because, 6 months in, I thought, ooh, this is really bad. Now the fried food is going to catch up to me.
So good though.
So good.
It's so good. Okay, so you're at Southeastern, you moved down there. How does a 9-month contract turn into tenure track and getting your doctorate?
Well, I mean, I think they just liked what I was doing. I was able to teach voice. It was a smaller program, so I was able to teach voice, teach undergraduate conducting. At that point, I had 3 choirs, and I taught 12 private students. I don't know how I did all that.
Overload.
Yeah, it was incredible overload. And was trying to build the program as well. And I mean, I think they were happy with what was happening. So I worked they extended the contract for 2 more years. And then, I knew that I had wanted to do my doctorate. So that was the plan. And, my husband actually did his master's, during the first 3 years. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to go back. He master's in teaching. And then I said, well, I'm going to do my doctorate. So I applied at Eastman and then I applied at LSU because it was close here. And I thought, well, maybe I can work out both. Maybe I can teach, drive an hour, go to school, come back. And Dr. Fulton looked at me and he said, I don't know. Ken Fulton just said, I don't know if you can do that. It's going to be really challenging. And I looked him in the eye and I said, I can do it. I can do that.
Yeah. Double undergrad, double master's, career, and a doctorate. I would not put it past you, Dr. Rowe.
Right. And I did. But what was amazing was that first semester that I started was 2005. Mm-hmm. And I drove every day from Mandeville. But the retreat that he always held was the first weekend of class, which happened to be the weekend Katrina hit. Yeah. And I was so immersed in what was happening and so excited about being back in school that I didn't even know there was a hurricane. I mean, I was so out of it, right? And not aware I was just all about choir, right? I mean, are we on fire for choir, right? I mean, so we don't know what's happening in the Gulf. And that's how my doctorate started, was Hurricane Katrina. So that was it was incredible. It was rough, but it also was an amazing experience because LSU took a number of students from New Orleans. And so we made new colleagues and really, I think, came together and bonded because of the experience. But I was able to go to school. I would drive here every day, school from 8 till 3:30. And then I would go back to Hammond and I would teach until 5 or 6. And then I would go home and do my homework all night long. And then I would do it again. It was 5 days a week, So
you never looked frazzled. Like, you always were put together.
Oh, you didn't hear some of those phone conversations, driving home in the car after a conversation with Fulton about my monograph, and he'd ripped it apart and I'm just in tears. And my husband thought I was going to drive off the road. Man. Everybody has those. You're going to have those up and down moments, and you just have to realize tomorrow's a new day, right? Tomorrow's new, and we'll take that as we come. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am so excited to finally know your whole story. That is such a great roller coaster. No, it's a good one. I think every story, and that's been the fun part. I mean, you'll be episode 128, and there are 128 vividly different stories into choir. Every once in a while, there's like, I got bit by the bug, I did choir. But the way in which you go through it is so uniquely different. That's not the truth for so many other professions.
No, we're so lucky. I tell that to my daughters who are 10 and 8. I want you to do something that you love and that you want to get up in the morning and go do every day, because there are so many people who don't have that. And I can't imagine having to go to work every day just because I have to. Right. I love coming to work. Work is what fulfills me. And I even said that to one of my students yesterday. He's in the middle of his recital, and I could tell he was frustrated with how the rehearsal was going. And I said, this piece is over. I said, here's the new piece. Next on your rehearsal, forget everything that's happened. You've already made your mental notes about what you need to fix. Let it go and be in this moment right now with this piece of music. This is what you have. You have this next 10 minutes to make it what you want. And if you carry that negative energy over, you're not really fully present. Just let it go. Why carry it? It's not helping anyone. No. It's not helping anyone or anything in this moment.
It's such a big piece of it too. Like, yes, there's perfectionism and there's a goal that you're striving for.
Sure.
But ultimately, people sing in choir because it's fun.
That's right.
And nobody died doing it.
Nope.
I mean, what a great relief.
And yeah, we want the perfection, but
right.
But let's be honest, we're there because it makes us feel great. I had my graduate students watch the PBS documentary on Minnesota and Never Stop Singing?
Yes, that was such a good documentary.
And just all about why they're all there. Yes, there's a history in Minnesota, but of singing, choral singing, but when people were asked, it was, it makes me feel good, or my friends are here, or I've been struggling, and the minute I pick up this piece of music, I know the history behind it, and I know I'm strong enough to get through this. I mean, it just, it's an incredible art.
It is. It's an art that's so, you're vulnerable, but you're vulnerable with other people. And like, we sang a hymn on Sunday, and the sweet soul beside me started tearing up, and afterwards just started sharing stories about that hymn tune and those words getting her through life. And there's just so many stories like that where it just changes lives. And I mean, you talk about that documentary, and I'll try to link it in the episode notes. But I just did a film review for the choir and conductor based on the LA Children's Chorus.
Okay.
Ann Tomlinson was their director for a long time. And when she retired, they did a documentary on her. They had done quite a few documentaries, but this final one just released about a month or two ago. And they asked me to do a review for the Choral Journal. And I love the film is nothing new to us. Yeah, there's some great warm-up ideas in there. And I did a podcast with Anne where she talks about why those warm-up ideas. But more importantly, it's such a great advocacy piece because they're interviewing all these different singers and family members and community members and board members. And the question's why choir? And every answer is a little different. But never once did someone say, because I became musically literate and I got to sing Beethoven.
No, it's not it. Nope.
It's not it.
It's about community, bonding, right?
Yes.
Bonding between the conductor, the singer is in the singer, and the audience, right? The community. I mean, we have like this 3-way venue to share our art. It's incredible.
It's a perfect segue too into like the main meat of this conversation. You talk about thinking outside of the box, especially related to choral programming, and how that allows us to bring the singers and the communities, that trifecta, the circular connection together. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you think outside the box with programming?
Well, I've been reflecting a lot because I'm teaching choral pedagogy this semester, and I went and redid all my lectures, and one of the topics is programming, and it's a big one, right? And when you read different chapters and whatever choral pedagogy book it might be, so much is discussed. It's overwhelming. It's probably the most difficult thing we do, right? Mm-hmm. Choosing music for our ensemble. And we talk about, is the music right for this ensemble? Is it accessible? Or what's your goal? What are we teaching? But so much has changed in my reflection. I remember going to ACDA in 1999. And it was my first national ACDA conference. And I need to go. This is my project. I'm going to do some presentations on this topic coming up, and looking at those programs, right? Mm-hmm. They're all structured the same. Mm-hmm. We start with the Baroque or the Renaissance piece. We move into a Baroque piece. You have to have a Baroque piece. You have to have some instruments, right? Mm-hmm. Then we move to a classical piece, all about the timeline, right, of the program. Right. And then often ending with a spiritual, which is just not what we want to do today, right? Mm-mm. And always following this prescribed program template, right? Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out at that age as a student why it was that way. And I really wasn't quite strong enough at that point to begin to ask that to my teachers. But I remember asking myself, why do I have to do this? Is this the only way I can program if I want to be successful, right? So now fast forward 22 years and more, whatever it is, right? Right. And there are, seeing all the different professional choirs that are out there, community choirs that are out there that are using programming as a catalyst for whatever they believe in, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about social justice. Let's talk about just culture in general. I want to share the music of my upbringing and my culture with a new community. Whatever that might be, we have options and we should not feel hand-tied. And so much of academia has, I think, made conductors feel like our hands are tied, that we have to present music in a certain prescribed way, which we just need to stop saying that. Mm-hmm. What is the goal of the ensemble? What is the goal of the conductor? Who are we trying to reach? Right? And we program to that end. And that might change over time as well, right? We're going to constantly be going back and reflecting on those questions. And it's okay if they change, right? So sure, we can look at the chronological program. We can look at thematic programming. Absolutely. We can look at one text. We can use one text for programming. Absolutely. But in the end, what is the goal with the program you're presenting to the community and beyond? In my mind, that's what I want to focus on, right? And through that idea, then I can choose pedagogically what I might want to work on with my students. If there's something that we really need to focus on, vocal technique wise, or even stylistically, but I don't want to allow those pedagogical issues drive all of the programming anymore. I think times have changed and we need to be more aware of what's happening with our art and our world. And also that we need to somehow bring singing to the rest of the world and the community. And if we only stay with that chronological program, the one composer or one text, it can be really difficult to reach a broader community with our programming. My husband, as I said, he's not a musician. And when he comes to our concerts, he would say to me, I don't understand what I'm supposed to be listening for, or I don't know what's important. Can you talk to the audience about why you did this? And the minute I start explaining to the audience the reasoning for the programming and what our mission is as an ensemble, he said, I'm totally drawn in now. I understand, and I don't feel like your art is above me. I feel like I'm included now. Isn't that the point?
It took like 2 sentences. You have to, here's the why. People want to know they're valued. People want to know why they're valued. If you know why you've picked the music, people want to know why so they can listen for it too. It seems so simple, but so doable.
It's so simple, so doable, but also takes a lot of work. And I think that's where programming is just really difficult, because you're going to go through so many revisions and you're going to have to change things over time. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong or that you're choosing music that doesn't work. You're just working through a process, and it is a process, and it takes so much time. You can't rush it. You just can't. And that's part of my goal and struggle right now at LSU, is that I want to reach a broader community. I want to reach the whole campus, not just the school of music. And that's a challenge, because we have the school of music that we're the artists and we have a certain standard, and the university has different ideas of what choral music should be, right? So I need to tailor different programs to reach out to that community, right?
So, okay, I want you to talk us through what your process looks like, but I'm so excited that you're thinking like that. Because if you do think, like, my first ACDA conference was 2007 in Miami. And I remember Dr. Fulton. I walked out of seeing, I think I had just seen the children's choir from Texas, and I had earlier that day seen Henry Luck from Indianapolis. And I looked at Dr. Fulton and said, I think that's what I want to do. It combines everything. And he made some comment about my hands and my gesture and how I would need to clean it up a little bit, and I couldn't be too boisterous just to get the kids singing. And I didn't understand what he meant for quite a while. Yeah. But it's that same piece of the puzzle. Who are you inviting in? What do they need? What does the audience need? Maybe that big boisterous conducting got the kids singing a certain way. But could you imagine if, Henry Luck would have turned around and been like, I'm using this gesture because this group over here needs it for that crisp T you're about to hear. Ready? Let's do it.
That's right. Oh, I love it. That's so great. But yeah, all those different experiences, right? And we don't always know that full picture.
But I don't remember a single college choir from that trip to Miami. And I went to every single concert. I don't remember a single one because, like you're saying, it was during that time where there was the formula. Do you think, will you talk us through how you go through your process, and then we'll talk at the end, do you think the formula will eventually change?
Well, I think the formula is changing, but I think at different institutions, depending on where you are, if you're at the collegiate level, if you're professional choir, there's a different set of rules, right? So it depends on what box you're given to stay in, and I think in academia, the question is, how can we rip this box up? We need to rip it up. It needs to go away. And reaching across oceans, reaching across different cultures is the answer and what needs to happen next. With our graduate students right now, the question is, what music deserves to be in the canon, right? Why are we looking at Western music? Why have we only focused on Western music? We need to move beyond this, and who is to say what's great choral music, right? So how do we put more value on the Vaughan Williams Mass in G over an arrangement of an incredible South African tune, right? That's been beautifully arranged and that has an incredible message, right? So the questions of value and what is the best, right? Is this good for my choir? Sure. Why can't it be good for your choir if you find value in it somewhere, right?
Right.
Does it have to be in a book? So I think and the way that our society and world is now so much more connected, right? We're able to reach across and meet new people and find out what they're doing. I think sometimes we're just a little afraid to do it, Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah. We think that, oh, well, I don't know enough and I shouldn't call that person, or I'm going to ask a question that makes me feel ridiculous and like I'm ignorant. Well, the only way to learn is to ask.
Right.
So we've got to go there. Yeah. So, I mean, I think my process is that I'm making a database right now of different editors in the world, right? Okay. So where can we find and just look for music? And I think as conductors, we have to do more listening outside of just the American portals that we have today, right?
Yes.
And of course, there's YouTube, which is fantastic, and we have wonderful things you can hear different ensembles. But when you hear an ensemble that you like, you've got to find that conductor's name in whatever country they're living, and you need to send them a Facebook message and translate it into their language. And why not try? Why not reach out? Right.
Right.
And to make those connections so that we can teach our students that there is more than what they've been given in the past. I mean, that's the real, we have to move beyond the box, box.
Ripping up the box. I love that.
Rip it up.
Exactly. Rip it up.
So going to other editors and doing, for me, the process really is listening. It's listening and listening and ordering. My husband gets really angry. I order single copies of so much music. I buy it because I want it, and I want to be able to feel it, and I want to be able to play it, and I want to be able to look at the text, not just on my screen. I can't. I think
I want to hold it.
That's my old school. I'm just old. But I have to be able to do that. And then once I go through music, I see if there are any, ties together, if there's a piece that really speaks to me, and then try to build a message from that. And it's always different, right? So, I know the graduates here at LSU, they're really they've talked a lot about thematic programming and having a message. And I think it's really wonderful. But again, it needs to be accessible. So depends on the audience and who we're trying to reach. Sometimes I think we leave out a very large population. So we need to make sure we're circling in and connecting and finding creative ways to connect in a program, right? So that's also challenging. I think Candlelight here is going to be maybe shocking, for some of the faculty and community, because they're used to it being all Christmas centered. And I want to move away from that. And I want it to be a night of magical music, right? And so where you're inspired and you're filled with wonder and awe, but it doesn't have to necessarily be about one religion. Right. And can we have all different styles? Let's have jazz.
Yes.
Let's have also more pop. Let's have that Renaissance piece. Let's do something that also represents Western culture and Eastern culture. Let's get across, there's wonder and awe in all of this music. We don't have to keep it in that box. Rip
the box up. I'm so excited.
But it's hard. Change is hard. Change is hard. And there's going to be an expectation from the audience. And I'm hoping to get some feedback from our audience as well when we do that and see how they feel about it. And then respond to that as well. So
I think that's key too. Like, you're not going at it like, this is my box, get inside of it. Instead, you're ripping up the box and let's see what shape we can make together.
Right.
And instead of using cardboard, you're totally playing with Play-Doh.
I think so as well. Right. And it can be a circle.
Right.
In a circle, why instead of a square?
I mean,
Right. So,
triangle, there's 3 pieces in the puzzle here, you know,
right.
the singers, you, and the audience. I mean, you're going to have to keep us posted on how Candlelight goes.
It's going to be interesting. I'm excited, and I'm going to use a QR code at the end and ask for feedback. And I hope that some people will do that. And there might be people who don't like it. This is one thing my husband, he taught me as well. He said, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like it. And that's okay. Not a reflection on you.
No.
Just be strong in what you believe your message is and what you've worked to create. And then reflect on it. Take that bit of criticism and see if you can apply it. If not, you can throw it out, but take a step back. It's not on you. Just look at it from that situation, and also if I can educate through the changes, I'm hoping that will make some of those changes a little bit smoother, but it is hard.
I think that's so key. That transparency element, gone are the days where you just jump on the podium and I am the correct person. Instead, it's that connection. It's that you're asking what's the goal of the whole conversation. This is no longer one-sided. This is trifold.
Right. And if we really consider music as a universal language, which maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I think there is so much of singing that is in many, many cultures, right? That we want to reach as many people as we can. And if we stay in our box that has been given to us, we're going to alienate more and more over time. And that is not the goal.
No.
It's not our end all. No. Rip it up.
Rip the box.
Rip it up, and then we're going to reform, right? And it can shift over time.
Shapeshifters. That's so good. Oh, okay. I'm very excited. So you do a lot of listening. You do a lot of ordering.
Yes.
Do you know about Jose Rivera's new project for music from South America and south of the border? I'll make sure I put that link in here too. He started a whole just kind of curating, publishing, getting more music like that out. We did a gig together.
Okay.
He did the high schoolers and I did the 6th grade or something. And I did a piece in Portuguese.
Wonderful.
And he was just like, I haven't seen anyone do anything in this language around here. And I just really liked the piece and the story and that it was from not here.
Right.
And so I think that his music and that he's working on it there's a team.
Okay.
That's really cool. And then
I'll reach out to him. Yeah.
Wendy Moy up at Syracuse has been putting together a fabulous database.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
She has a database it's a lot of stuff on social justice, but the people and the composers that she's featuring, it's also a fantastic resource.
Okay. Great. Wonderful.
I know that there's more, but those two have been kind of on my radar. I'm hoping to get both of them on the podcast once all of it is up and running.
Wonderful. That's so exciting. And that's the resources we need, and I think so many teachers, we struggle because we don't know where to look. And so the more that we can empower the choral conductor to say, this is a place to start, right? And to not be afraid of it and to reach out to us, then we're accessible and we can help. Because it is a daunting process. It's overwhelming. And sometimes we get it right and sometimes we don't. And it's okay.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you say that. Because, for example, this morning before having this recording, I met with the school district that I'm coming in to do their all county. And I always send my list and say, please give me feedback. I don't know your community. I don't know your singers. What in this list does or doesn't work. And we had a 45-minute session where they had looked at the list and looked at what they had in their libraries, and we created a collaborative list. And a few of my pieces didn't make it on there, but for valid reason.
Yeah, I just did that with the South Carolina All-State as well.
Yeah,
I set my list with this or that. What do you think? And I don't know if that's something that everybody's doing, but why not? Because you don't know. You don't know the group you're walking into, and you don't know what they're used to as well. And can we stretch a little bit? And a couple of the pieces I wanted that I had in my first didn't end up either, but it's okay.
I just did that with Melinda down at Montevello. I'm doing their treble festival, and I'm like, either one of these, all the way down. You just tell me which one you want.
That's
She's
great.
Like, do you have a preference? I'm like, no, whatever you like.
That's right. You pick, right?
Yes, I think that's because you have to know. It goes back to those 3 goals. What is the goal for the singers, the goal for you as the conductor, and the goal for the audience? I think that's what the reshape comes from.
It is. And every every ensemble and director is going to have different goals. And that's okay too, you know?
It's okay for everyone to be individually them because choir is innately just fun.
It is. And why do we have to have a prescribed way that we do things anymore? There shouldn't be. You do what's best for you, your ensemble, your mission, what you are working on pedagogically, culturally, for the greater good. And we should accept that and let that be. Yeah.
And rip up the box. We'll have a
Rip
box
it up.
burning party.
Rip it up. Absolutely.
Love it.
Right?
Oh, this is so good. I am so honored that we get to connect in this way. And thank you for being willing to share your stories.
Oh, thanks so much. This is just wonderful. I love sharing, and I hope that we get to see each other very, very soon in person.
I know. And okay, I can't forget, because I'm sure you're going to have a zinger of a one-liner. I always let the guest share one thing that really matters in the whole scheme of things. Do you have anything that you'd like to share?
Well, do you want me to use my quote that I've got?
You can.
Okay,
yeah. Or if you have something else you want to say, it's totally up to you.
You're so sweet. No, I think the one that I wrote down is really, really good. So I had told you, every day we live with new possibilities. Look at each moment as an opportunity. Every day we have the ability to do something. And everything we say affects the next person and then moves on. It's like a ripple. And we have to know that that's powerful. It's so powerful. And too often we take that for granted. Yeah.
Every day, new opportunity. I'm so thankful for this opportunity. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Emmy.
All right, my friends. Are you on fire for choir? She said that quote. I wrote it down. It made me smile. I hope that you are. We all know that the best teachers are also great learners as well. So I hope that you learned something today. I hope that you learned that it's through the challenges that we make the most growth. And it's okay if it's not easy. That's part of the reformat and the restructure, because change is hard, but it's totally worth it. The most difficult thing we do, just like Dr. Rowe said, is picking the music for our ensemble. Remembering to ask yourself, why do I have to do this? Is it the only way to be successful? Or can you rephrase it and think, will it be good for my ensemble? What will be the goal that we are accomplishing together? Will it be good for me as a conductor? What's the goal I'm hoping to accomplish? And what's the goal for the people that we want to reach with this programming? Y'all, what music deserves to be on your program? Remember, it can be stuff that's important to you, to your people, to your community. Don't measure yourself up next to anyone else, because you are the only you there is. And we get to explore that outside the box when we think about our programming. It is such a joy to have these conversations. Thank you so much for listening. And my friends, you matter. We all know that music matters, especially when we think outside the box with our choral program as a way to bring humans together. And I will see you next time on the Music Ed Matters podcast.